What's the big idea?
Welcome to another Numbering the Days channel word study. This past week on our channel, we've been discussing watchmen and our new word study, the watchwoman. And it's time on the ancient biblical calendar right now when prophet Ezekiel is made a watchman over the house of Yasharel. And in our deep dive studies recently, comparing the book of Jubilees verse by verse to Genesis, I discussed the word Zakar in relationship to Abraham's journey and how the chosen patriarch of the faith exemplified the word for men from Genesis 1, Zakar. That means male. And I'm going to share some of that at the end of this word study, so don't miss out. I know some of our audience has not yet studied Jubilees, and I invite you to study this with us. It's an apocryphal book considered scripture by many in the early assembly in Jerusalem. Numerous copies were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it's still in some church canons today. The gender role created in Genesis 1, both of them, are completely being blurred in our world right now between males and females. And I was prompted to do this video to share the insights from the original language, giving us the complete understanding of the male gender. If you're a man and you're uncomfortable that a woman is delivering this message, please note that this is a word study and you can verify for yourself what I'm saying. I don't use flashy graphics and pictures on our channel, but instead PDF files with all the scriptural backup. These are provided to our community members for their study. My husband Joshua has studied for himself what I'm sharing, and I pray that you receive this as a Berean with respect. Last week, I did a very popular word study on the woman watchwoman and was just as full and honest there as I will be here. So let's get started. Okay, we're in the word study now. We're going to talk about men and the words Zakar and Shamar. We're going to look at a couple of verses real quick. The word Zakar is first found in Genesis 1:27. It's a very famous verse. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. Male, Zakar, and female created he them. So the word male there is Zakar. And in Genesis 2:15, the other word I want to mention today, and I did the thorough word study on the word Shamar in the watchman video that I did for the prophet Ezekiel, and what kind of watchman was he made, because the word Shamar has also been translated as watchman. So Genesis 2:15, and Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. That word keep right there is Shamar. And after we understand these words more, I'm going to do a brief review on some verse usage and how they apply to the story of Abraham, who I know you know who he is, the patriarch of the faith, and Yeshua, Jesus Yeshua, as role models for how these words get lived out. I think it's important to take some of what I'm going to share with you today and put it and look at it in the verses. So the main word for today is Zakar, Zain Kaf Resh. The Strong's is 2142 through 2145. And has several basic meanings to this word. It means to remember and to memorialize, called to mind. It also means to be born male, to treat as masculine. It means the male gender of humans or animals. And that's the basic biblical definition for the word Zakar without any looking at the ancient Paleo Hebrew. Now, the biblical usage, I've ranked it in usage order. So remember, 172 times this word was translated remember. Male, 67. Mention 21, you see. Remembrance, reorder, man, mindful, memorial, memory, child. I turned that red because child kind of implies, and you'd have to see the context of these verses, but that could allow for women. Mankind. Sometimes I teach this in my Paleo Hebrew online courses. We look at mankind and womankind. It's an interesting rabbit hole. Think, Zakar, think. Well, that's kind of pushing it. Think means a lot of times you're not really remembering anything. Bring to remembrance, record, him, remembered, sent sounds really off, and miscellaneous 8 times. So I turned the ones in red that if I were to go look at verses, those are the bunny trails that I would go down. Now the components, this is a part of how we do a word study. We look at the Paleo Hebrew and the subwords that are in the word Zakar. So see, Zain Kof is a word. It's H2134, and it means clean, pure, in a state of purity. It's also found in Klein's dictionary. In fact, all 3 of these are found in the etymological dictionary. Okay, Kofresh means male lamb, a battering ram, saddle, pasture of lambs, a core, which is a measuring instrument, usually for dry measuring. Okay, then we have Zain and Resh. So I looked at this considering that the outer 2 letters could be a container for the letter inside. And this is something I talk about, seated words inside in the academy. So we have a frame edging, wreath, crown, a chaplet, a border molding. Well, that would certainly be a border for the Kof inside. So when I look at the components and I go deeper into the meaning of Zakar, I can come up and meditate and pull out things like purified, clean, mature person walking in the way, filled and ready for leading and guiding. Something set apart, or person set apart for a purpose, a male lamb set apart for a purpose, or something capable of being used for measuring other things. You have something that's set apart that everything is going to be measured against. Wreath, crown, a covering on the top that brings helping hands, lifting up others, gives them Torah and plants seeds. Wreath, crown, covering on the top that understands the growth process and can render aid and support. So those are things that I see in this word. Now, if I just look at the letters, and this is the deepest understanding that I teach in the academy, is my understanding of the 22 letters, I will say something like choice, kind, elder, set apart for purposes of sowing, which is a speaking function of the truth, and Torah in service to others. Choice, creation, in service to others, providing things needed. That's an action. It's an action word. So I see speaking and action in here, using open hands, including to redeem something. So this is not like the big fist of power. This is you need a helping hand, or I need to help do that for you. Here, let me lift that heavy thing for you. Or here, let me make something for you. I also see set apart for purposes of openly giving kindness to others as you're a raised, matured up prophet, priest, king, or elder that's doing this. They've been set apart. They've matured, and they can openly give kindness to others. Set apart, choice, kind, equipped. They're an equipped species. You got all the things that you needed given to you for opening the way for redemption, provision, and lifting others up. So these are some of the things that I see in the letters about the word Zakar. So this one page, you can meditate on the meaning of the word. I want to mention the word shamar. I'm not going to go through all of this a whole lot. It is, I do it in depth in the Ezekiel Watchman's video, and I include it here because it does have watchmen here. And this time of year in the calendar is when Ezekiel has been sitting in Tel Aviv in shock for 7 days and is appointed a watchman to the house of Israel. So the other video that I did on watchmen gives you the understanding of the word shamar and another word. But realize that the male was put into the garden. That's why I'm including shamar. The male was put into the garden. The Zakar was put into the garden to shamar the garden, to keep guard, watch the garden, to closely observe, to pay attention to celebrate the garden. And you wouldn't know what needs to be lifted up or who needs service or who needs your help. You wouldn't know the things to render aid to if you weren't keeping, guarding, closely observing, and watching. You see, these two words go hand in hand. And the male was given a part of the word male then is to do this shamar and zakar. Okay. So let's look at the usage and gain some understanding and wisdom. Okay, and I put this into a little chart to represent both Abraham and Yahusha. And I'm pulling Abraham's story out of the book of Jubilees. Okay. I picked these two for a purpose because a lot of people really don't ponder the fact that Yahusha is the seed of Abraham. And there's the famous discussion in the New Testament where Yahusha is confronting people and he says, if you were the seed of Abraham, you'd do the works of Abraham that he did. And I even have a video, I'm going to show you a picture of it on the screen, that talks exactly about, I pulled it all out of Jubilees, exactly what did the seed of Abraham do, you see? And Yahusha did it in spades, by the way. So, they're both males. They're both Zakar. These are parts of the definition of the word. I'm putting it here in the left-hand column. Clean, pure, and purified. Well, Abraham was tested 10 times, and he passed his tests. And he went through a lot of purification, trials and tribulations in his story. And Yahusha, of course, was proven and tested in the wilderness with the temptations. He was without sin. I can't see that the text does not say anywhere that Abraham was without sin, but he sure had been tested a whole lot and was purified and was chosen for a reason. Walking in the way, leading others, and understands caring for a flock. Both of them, yes. Absolutely, Yahusha. But these are qualities of Zakar that I'm sitting here, and yes, both of them. Set apart male for a purpose by Yahuwah, used for measuring things, like they're a model or a mold. Abraham picked his descendants who were going to carry forth his seed, who were fitting the model. He was a role model for them, and they were molded by him into being one like him to keep passing it down. So Abraham was set apart for the creation of a set apart people and was an inspiration to those around him for measuring up to Abraham. And then we have the son of Elohim, who is so set apart as the first of a whole new creation, obviously major inspiration, and totally understood the Torah of the Great Father. So, everything that Abraham was, Yahusha was it, a whole lot more. But I'm putting here side by side because Yahusha was part of Abraham's seed. Okay, planting Torah and lifting others up. Now, Abraham was chosen in part because he does teach instructions, and he ensures his family and future generations walk properly. He helps, rescues, and provides for people. There are stories in Jubilees that are not in Genesis. I hope you join me for the Jubilees-Genesis comparison. He physically helps ensure physical seed are protected from Hasatan to ensure physical food and people survive. Abraham did a lot to lift up other people. And obviously so does the Son of the Most High, expounded upon the truth and planted it in many hearts, giving people the bread from heaven for eternal life. He cares for the physical needs of those following him, including miraculous food provision. So these two men, I can tell when I looked at what Abraham did, and then I thought, well, what did Yahusha do? Yahusha, definitely was the seed of Abraham and followed along in the pattern. Okay, physical actions to help redeem others, functioning as the kinsman redeemer. Well, Abraham acts on behalf of his abducted family and battles with kings to return Lot, their family and possessions, and many others. And Yahusha pays the ultimate sacrifice as our kinsman redeemer of Yah's family to redeem us from fallen conditions in darkness, from the fall of the garden. He's the ultimate kinsman redeemer. So they both are fulfilling this role as a male. Okay, to fulfill this role of kinsman redeemer. Let's go look at the Jubilees book study for just a moment and talk about another aspect to the Zakar meaning. I mean, I see a difference in how Genesis tells the pre-Sodom story and the rescue of Lot that I want to show you real quick. So hold on. Okay, so I've pulled up on the screen chapters 14 through 16 in our Book of Jubilees study. There's a whole Jubilees playlist on the YouTube channel to see. In the book of Genesis, in the King James, there is a whole story that is told of three men visiting Abraham, and of Abraham learning that what they're going to do to Sodom. And then Abraham intercedes. He tries to intercede and says, he knows that Lot's there, and he's trying to find out, is Lot going to be taken? He doesn't mention Lot, but he keeps going down a descending number of people saying, if you find somebody righteous, are you still going to do this? If you find somebody righteous, are you still going to do this? And I find it interesting that he never mentions Lot here. You would think he'd just say, please save Lot, but he doesn't. And the text goes down to, well, if there's 10 men left, then judgment still won't happen. And just note that 10 men in ancient times constituted a community that could render judgment in the Torah. So that's what I think is interesting about the Genesis story. But this is not how Jubilees renders this story, and I don't want to spoil it for you, so I want you to go watch that video if you find this interesting. All the Jubilee says, after it says that Sodom was going to be destroyed, it says, and this is a messenger, a Malach of Yahuwah, giving history to Moses on top of Mount Sinai. And Moses is told, but Lot we saved, for Yahuwah remembered Abraham and sent him out of the midst of the overthrow. That is the only time Lot is mentioned of how Lot was saved here. Okay? So in the Jubilees, its version, Yahuwah remembers Abraham without Abraham pleading anything and spares Lot. Now we're going to go discuss Zakar. Okay? Because Genesis 1 are supposed to remember people. Okay, back to the word study. But Lot we saved, for Yahuwah remembered Abraham. So I want you to consider this. Abraham has proven himself to rescue, redeem people, and saved a community from mastemas, that's Hasatans, ravens bringing famine. So Abraham does remember people, and he acts upon their behalf for their benefit for people who can't even help themselves. And now Yahuwah is responding in the same set-apart character. You see, remember the Zakar word contains being set apart for a purpose. And Yahuwah is that. It's part of his nature, part of his character. This Zakar. Men were created in the likeness and image of Zakar, and it was called Zakar. So this is the likeness that males are supposed to have and demonstrated through actions on behalf of those around them. The likeness of those men who, for instance, see a woman under attack on the streets and acts on her behalf to rescue her. Or the father who runs into the burning house to save his children from a fire. Or the man who leaves an inheritance for his children is acting on their behalf. Or saves his daughter from deception of a vow or contract that is not in her best interest. That's allowed in Torah. So that's the function of Zakar. These are all Zakar-type actions and activities. And these acts of bravery and acting to lift others up or redeem them is often memorialized. See, that's also part of the meaning of Zakar. Was not Yahuwah seeing the situation of his people in Egypt and acting on their behalf to rescue and redeem them, even if they were complaining about the increased burdens from the Egyptians? Those people didn't understand the big picture of what was really going on and what was going to happen in the end. But Yeshua was acting on behalf. He was Zakar. And he said, this is my memorial name. He said, it's my Zakar name. That's what's in Exodus 3:15. It's the same word. And this is my memorial unto all generations. That's the word Zakar. Now, being remembered by Yeshua remembered his people in Egypt. He remembered Lot on behalf of Abraham. You see, Abraham was not going to be able to go rescue Lot. But Yeshua remembered Abraham, who was a Zakar, who demonstrated it and acted it out. So Yeshua was going to be there and fill the gap for Abraham and rescue Lot on his behalf. So this is action. It's not just words. This is not just a text message, a card, or flowers, but it includes action that protects, lifts up, and opens the doorways of paths and provisions for other people. What is the needed action as a kinsman redeemer? Adam and Eve and the rest of us would have been lost in a fallen world without our Heavenly Father sending His Son to act on our behalf. To all men who are listening, remember your children and your wives, sisters, mothers, and brothers. Remember to act and do whatever you can in a righteous and virtuous manner. Yah seeks such men. He created such men. He seeks seeds of Abraham who mature and become wheat, not tares, and do as Abraham actually did. That's why I said go see the video. To all men who are listening, read Ezekiel 22 and meditate on that chapter. Consider our world today. Consider your place in it. Notice that Yeshua is still looking for men to fulfill the role He created for them. I mean, in Ezekiel 22:30 it says, and I sought for a man among them. Now, that doesn't just mean, oh, I'm looking for male genders. I'm looking to see, are there some men amongst the women? That is not what this means. He's looking for a man who is matured and understands Zakar. To all the men listening, it's never too late to remember to act, to be transformed through the power of our Elohim and the Ruach HaKodesh working in your life. The three angels are still blasting their message in the heavens in these end times. And while time may be short, your walk is not over. There are many scriptures that most people memorize, and all those verses with promises we all love to memorize. And there are verses with people who remember only part of it. So act today, become the man Yeshua created you to be, become Zakar. You don't want to realize that you've lived a life not fulfilling being that, because the consequences of what it means is what it means to be outside of a covenant, the consequences of not having sown into your family, friends, and workplaces, no Zakar, no remembering, and there's no memorial. Hosea 4:6 is one of those verses that most everybody knows the first phrase. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But you don't memorize, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of Elohim, I will also forget thy children. That forgetting of thy children is no Zakar. You see, Yeshua remembered Abraham and acted on behalf of Abraham. And Hosea 4:6 is saying, I'm not going to remember your children. That's a really bad thing. John 1:12. But as many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of Elohim. To become. Abide in the vine. Walk as he walked. He's the ultimate Zakar. Even to them that believe, hear, do, and act on his name. Appellation, character, fame, and breath. That believe word means not just to say something, it means to do and act. Even if you look in the Greek, it does. It means the same thing. You do. It's not just a mental thing, an exercise. You're acting and doing every day and believing on his The appellation means his name. You know, everybody can argue about Jesus, Yeshua, and Yahusha and all that stuff, but it's the name that you call. But it also means character. Shem also means character, and Zakar is all about what the character is. Okay. Abraham lived life. He acted on behalf of others. He was put to the test 10 times in Jubilees, proven faithful, believed into Yahuwah, meaning he acted, established some of the Moediym even. Boy, this is a part of the Jubilees study I wish more people were going to be exposed to. Is the Moediym feasts are all told in Jubilees. And Abram knew the Son of Elohim would manifest into this world through his seed line and bring eternal salvation and deliverance from the fallen world that Abraham saw and he was born into. We're not the only ones born into a fallen world, so was Abram. And, that we're still born into it. But Abram is just like us, and he cried out for deliverance, and he sought the Most High, and he got an answer. And I pray all the men hearing my voice blossom as the seed of Abraham and follow the light of our kinsman Redeemer, the Mashiach, Yahusha Emmanuel, known a.k.a. the Lord Jesus Christ, to act now on behalf of all of Yah's family, their family, the lost sheep who still need you in this world. It is not too late. So shalom, my brothers, and also to my sisters who were listening. I pray this has helped you. I pray it's lifted you up. I pray that you would share this, would reach more ears, and I urge you to come study with us. If you don't have a community and a Sabbath group to study with, please consider coming to join ours. There's information in the description. If you like word studies like this, or you want to understand how to dig more into the ancient scriptures, please follow the links to the Paleo Hebrew Academy. And you can take courses online, either in a group or at your leisure as a solo person. So you have a wonderful day. May Yah bless. Shalom.